So welcome to today's meditation. We'll begin by finding a comfortable seat, whatever that is for you, but try if you can to have your spine nice and tall. The reason we do that is because we want to try to not slump into the body and get tired and sleepy. So because we are slowing down the heart, slowing down the breath, slowing down the brain waves, there is a tendency sometimes to get really sleepy and get that kind of numbness in the mind, when really what we want is clarity in our meditations. So a tall spine is one way to help with that. And also rolling the shoulders back so that the chest is nice and open, and that helps with the breath. So another thing we want to make sure is that the breath doesn't get blocked or constricted. So another thing to keep in mind is your clothing. So if you've got like a belt on or anything tight around the abdomen in particular, or the chest, we want to make sure that that's nice and loose again, so that the breath isn't labored. And that really helps to keep the prana flowing through the body so that it doesn't fall asleep or get stressed. All little tips to find a comfortable seat. Today we're going to do a kosha meditation. So kosha means a sheath or a layer. And in this tradition, it's from the Vedanta tradition. It's described as kind of like peeling an onion. So you've got the outer layer, and then there's 5 of these koshas. That's why it's called Panchakosha, 5 layers, 5 sheaths of the body. We start from the outside and we end up deep into the core of the body. And I'll explain as we go through. So this is a way to move from what we call the gross body, which is a physical body. It's obvious, it's here, it's tangible, into the subtle and causal bodies. So we go from the gross to the more and more subtle. So let's begin with the outer layer, the physical body. It's called anandamaya kosha, and it's related to the earth elements. So when we think about the elements, the earth is the one that is the most, the heaviest, and the body is related to earth. So feel the bones in your body, allow them to relax and be heavy. Your skin enveloping your body. Notice the muscles in your body. The brain floating up there in your skull. The spine, which is the skeleton, the foundation here of your body with all its limbs hanging off it. And take a little moment to scan through your physical body and notice where it might feel perhaps a little bit uneasy or tight. And take the opportunity here, if you need to adjust, to make yourself a little bit more comfortable. We want to try and relax the body so that it doesn't disturb you through your meditation. So the more relaxed and comfortable we can be, the less disturbance we'll get. So taking the time here to relax the muscles a little bit more and to soften. So notice all the little muscles around your face. Soften the eyes, the tongue inside your mouth. Release. Unclench the jaw if there's tightness there. And just notice your posture here. Notice whether you might have a tendency to either slump forward, whether to need to roll your shoulders back a little, or perhaps you have a tendency to dump into the lumbar spine, the lower back, or perhaps your pelvis is tilting too much forward or back. See if you can find a neutral position so that the body is steady as well as comfortable. So we're looking for that sweet spot. And you might now consider all the functions of the body, the blood flowing through, all the things that happen without us having to even think about, like digestion, even breath. The earth element connected to the planet Earth. So notice your connection to the earth. So wherever your body is touching the ground, feel that connection and that sense of being held by the earth and belonging to the earth. And now we want to go a little bit deeper in our meditation to leave the gross body behind and to come into the energy sheath or the anandamaya kosha. So prana is the life force in your body, and it's connected to breath and the air elements. And it is the breath that moves the prana around the body. So notice your breath. First, notice the natural breath without changing it. How is your body breathing you here? Notice the inhale and the exhale, whether one is more obvious than the other. Whether one feels more labored or perhaps nice and free. And the pattern of your breath here. So you might begin to trace the course of your breath as it moves into the body. How is it moving? So you need to focus a little bit more now. Follow the breath. Where does it go as it enters the body? And where does it go as it exits the body? And can you follow that circuit? You might imagine a line drawing, for example, creating a shape. And what would that shape look like? And you might notice that each breath is perhaps a different shape. Perhaps there are subtle variations with each breath. Each has its own unique flavor. And then notice how you, with your attention and your intention, can begin to direct the breath where you want it to go. So you might begin to inhale a little bit more strongly, and perhaps the line of your breath now becomes a little bit more regular. And perhaps you start creating a shape which is symmetrical and even, so that you get a balance between the yin and the yang, a balance between the inhale and the exhale. And notice what the shape of your breath might be here as you begin to drive your own breath. And then you might begin to explore the different parts of the breath. So far we've looked at the inhale and the exhale, but we also have the retention, or the little kumbakas. So a little pause at the top of the inhale and at the bottom of the exhale. So as you breathe in, as you come to the end of the inhale, see if you can just pause the breath. It might just be a beat or two. And then you engage the exhale. And when there's no air left in the lungs, maybe you can pause there again for a beat or two or longer, as long as it's not feeling stressful on the body. So we want to relax the body. We don't want to activate stress. So the kumbakas need to be just the right amount, not too much, not too long. So let's have a minute or so playing with that idea of drawing a shape that has these two breaks. So you've got like a semicircle, for example, and a little break, and then the rest of the circle and another little break. It might not be a circle for you, it might be a different shape. You get to choose. Focus. See if you can focus in a gentle, soft way, maybe a playful way. Drawing with your breath. Learning to connect to the subtle body. Draw 3 more shapes. Take your time, no rush. And then release your conscious breath. So now you're just allowing the breath to do what it wants without your control. Letting go now. And we're ready now to move into the third kosha, a little bit deeper, the perceptual body of the mind. This is called anandamaya kosha, connected to manas, the reactive mind. And this is connected to the senses. The senses are an extension of the body outward, and they have a direct correlation here with the mind and the thoughts. So we try to shut down the senses as much as possible, or withdraw them inward to try and quieten the mind. So the mind never stops, it's always thinking away, but we can perhaps begin to slow down the thoughts, to turn down the volume, and also to not grasp onto thoughts. So we all have a tendency to ruminate on thoughts. So a thought comes and we'll think it over and over and over like a loop. That's quite common. So we want to notice when that happens and find ways to allow thoughts to drift by, like the weather, and not identify with thoughts, not allow them to rule our lives. Because we know that many thoughts are quite negative and not very helpful. It's just human nature. It's our survival mechanism that we have this negative bias. We all have that. It's not our fault. But in these practices, we want to try and get a little bit more discerning about which thoughts are helpful and which thoughts are not. So let's just sit here for a few moments of silence and see if you can find that discernment as to whether the thoughts floating by are useful or not, and whether you can make a decision to release them. This layer is connected to the fire element. So it's this idea of transformation. How can we transform unhelpful thoughts into something more liberating? Okay, let go there. We're going to now sink into the fourth kosha called anandamaya. This is the wisdom body, or what we call the conscious body, the discerning intellect. And to connect to this sense here, you might want to focus on your third eye, because this particular chakra here, the Ajna chakra, is connected to that sense of wisdom, or what we call the buddhi. And we want to begin to get really quiet here so that we can hear the inner wisdom that lives within. And as we go deeper and deeper into these koshas, everything becomes more and more subtle. So we need to really focus more to find stillness and quiet. So all we're doing here is gazing into the third eye, focusing inward. This center is connected to the dreaming states. But here it's like we want to be beyond dreaming, in a dreamless state, but very much awake. And this letting go of the external koshas that we've just been through as we go deeper and deeper. And then finally, we go into the very core of the body, what is called the bliss body, anandamaya kosha. Sometimes described as the transcendental body. Very, very subtle. That sense of letting go of the ego and all the other layers. So imagine you're peeling all those layers away. And what you're left with here is the Atman, or your individual consciousness, or the witness. Completely at peace, not getting involved, like a little light deep within you, watching. And just enjoying here a moment of peace. And it's in this state that we find meditation, trying to become absorbed in this state. So we'll leave it here for now. Coming back to the physical body, take a big breath in, big sigh out. And make any little movements here that feel good, that bring you back to the body. Notice if you need to stretch, if you need to move a little. And then taking a moment to reflect on your experience today with this meditation through the koshas.